They didn't want to kill her. Not yet. Death was too simple, too quick. They needed something else, a ritual of unmaking.
Rome didn't just need to defeat Cleopatra VII, it needed to erase her. The queen, the pharaoh, the goddess, the symbol, and they discovered the perfect tool, her own image.
For 15 years, she had outmaneuvered the most powerful men on earth. She had held an empire through intellect, strategy, and sheer force of personality. She was Isis incarnate, a living deity. But in the final year of her life, 3130 BC, a new enemy arrived. Not with a sword, but with a chisel and a pen. His name was Octavian, and his war was not against her army, but against her story. Welcome to the Black Code. The truth is a weapon. Tonight, we're dissecting one of history's first and most successful character assassinations, the systematic dismantling of Cleopatra. This is not the story of an asp in a basket. That's the fairy tale Rome sold you. This is the story of a psychological and political operation designed to transform a sovereign queen into a cautionary tale for all time. They stripped her of her titles, rewrote her history as a cheap seductress, and turned her greatest loves into proof of her degeneracy. By the time they were done, they had killed her 3 times over, as a ruler, as a woman, and as a memory. Let's begin at the moment Rome realized it couldn't beat her on the battlefield alone. The Battle of Actium, 31 BC, Cleopatra and Mark Antony's fleet faces Octavian's. The story you know, she fled, causing Antony to lose his mind and follow, dooming them both. Cowardice, hysteria, the fickle woman, that is the Roman narrative, the victor's version. But what if her withdrawal was the last desperate maneuver of a brilliant strategist who saw the battle was lost? What if she was preserving the treasury, the core of her government, for a last stand in Egypt? It doesn't matter. Octavian needed a better story. Not a tactical retreat by a peerless queen, but a flight of passion and panic. He needed to reduce grand strategy to feminine whim. And so he wrote it that way. The campaign of erasure had begun. Phase 1. The demonization of the alliance. Cleopatra's relationships with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony were, in reality, profound political and military partnerships. They were mergers of state, treaties written in blood and loyalty. Octavian recast them as the debauched infatuations of a weak man and a predatory seductress. He didn't just call her a whore, he made her a specific kind of monster, the Regina Meretrix, the whore queen, the oriental temptress who used dark foreign magic to enslave Roman virtue. This was racial, cultural, and psychological warfare. She wasn't a Greek Ptolemy, a successor to Alexander, anymore. She was the decadent, effeminate, corrupting East, threatening the stoic, masculine West. Poets like Horace and Propertius, firmly in Octavian's pocket, became the social media trolls of their day. They pumped out verses calling her a fatal monster, a mad queen drunk on luxury and power. Her greatest achievement, bearing a son to Julius Caesar, Caesarion, a living heir to 2 empires, was twisted. She was not a mother securing a dynasty. She was a schemer trying to pollute Roman blood with an oriental bastard. Phase 2. The legal and spiritual stripping. As Octavian's forces closed in on Alexandria in 30 BC, he didn't just move armies, he moved paperwork. He declared war not on Egypt, but on Cleopatra personally.
A legal fiction. You don't declare war on a person, you declare war on a state. By doing so, he denied Egypt's sovereignty and her legitimacy as its ruler. She was no longer a pharaoh, she was an outlaw.
Simultaneously, he began the process of annulling her divinity. In Egypt, she was the new Isis. Temples bore her image merged with the goddess. To unqueen her, he first had to ungod her. His propagandists spread the word. Her rituals weren't piety, they were blasphemous theater. Her priestly robes weren't sacred, they were costumes. He was peeling the layers of her identity down to nothing. Now let's enter Alexandria in the summer of 30 BC. The net is closing, but Octavian isn't rushing, he's savoring the dismantling. Cleopatra has retreated to her mausoleum, a nearly completed tomb stocked with treasure and flammables. She sends a message to Octavian. She will surrender if he guarantees the kingdom for her children. This is a queen still negotiating, still thinking in terms of legacy and succession.
Octavian sends his most cunning lieutenant, Gaius Proculius. His mission, take her alive, not out of mercy, for the trophy, for the parade.
Cleopatra, guarded by 2 loyal servants, is inside the sealed mausoleum. Proculius manages to get inside, not through force, but through guile. He talks, he promises, he assures her Octavian only wants to talk. The moment she is in his presence, Roman soldiers swarm in. She is captured, but she tries one last move, grabbing a dagger to kill herself. They disarm her, the first death she is denied, a sovereign's death by her own hand. She is placed under a polite, suffocating house arrest in the palace. This is phase 3, the psychological siege. Octavian visits her. He is cold, civil, and utterly terrifying. He doesn't scream, he doesn't threaten, he lays out in calm detail her future. She will be taken to Rome, she will be paraded in his triumph, not as a defeated general, but as an exotic spectacle. Gold chains won't bind her. She'll be displayed as a living prop, a freak of nature, while the Roman mob chants insults. Her children, Caesarion, and her kids with Antony, will walk behind her, their futures extinguished. He is offering her the ultimate erasure, to become a living cartoon in the story of his greatness. Her life's work, her divinity, her intelligence, all reduced to a single role: the vanquished barbarian queen. But he makes one mistake. He lets her know that her son Caesarion is being hunted, and that her other children are safe. For now. He has identified her center of gravity, her role as a mother and dynast. Now comes the masterstroke of psychological torture. He allows her to perform the rites for the already dead Mark Antony. She is granted permission to bury her lover and co-ruler with full honors. This is not kindness, it's a trap. It confirms that all real power is now his to grant. It forces her to confront the totality of her loss while giving her a final, poignant duty. It's emotional warfare of the highest order. During this period, a peasant is allowed to bring a basket of figs to her quarters. The guards check it. They see only figs. They let it pass. The story says the asp was hidden within. But let's consider another more chilling possibility from some ancient sources. What if Octavian allowed the means of her suicide to reach her? He had just told her his terrible plan for her. Her death by her own hand on Egyptian soil robbed him of his grand parade. But it gave him something better, a clean, controllable narrative: the mad, proud queen killed by a snake. It was the perfect ending for his propaganda, exotic, poetic, and utterly apolitical. No martyrdom, no final defiant speech. Just a strange, womanly death. It fit the character he had built for her. Cleopatra, dressed in her full royal regalia, lay on a golden couch. She was found dead, with 2 of her handmaidens, Iris and Charmian, dying beside her. The ultimate control, choosing the time, manner, and dress of her exit. When Octavian was informed, the sources say he was angry. But was it the anger of a man cheated or the performance of a man who got exactly the denouement he needed? He ordered a physician to try to suck the poison from her wound and even summoned silly snake charmers to attempt a revival. A show of Roman mercy and technical prowess destined to fail. He then granted her final wish. She was buried beside Mark Antony. A magnanimous gesture from the victor. The story was complete. The tragic lovers united in death. A romantic fable, not a political history. Phase 4. The erasure of legacy. This is where Octavian's operation moved from brilliant to timeless. The physical and historical cleansing began. First, the children. Caesarion, the true heir to Caesar, was hunted down and killed. "Too many Caesars," Octavian reportedly said. The other children were paraded in his triumph, then raised in Rome, assimilated, their identities dissolved. Then, the images. He didn't destroy all statues of Cleopatra. That would make her a martyr. He had them recarved. Her distinct Ptolemaic features were often reshaped into those of his own sister, Octavia. In temples across Egypt, her cartouches were chiseled out. Her name was removed from official records. It was a bureaucratic disappearance. Finally, the history. The poets and historians in his circle, Virgil, Horace, Livy, cemented the narrative. Cleopatra was the villain of the Aeneid, the decadent distraction from Roman destiny. All evidence of her as a capable administrator, a polyglot scholar who spoke 9 languages, a naval strategist, and a religious reformer was suppressed or ignored. What remained was the silhouette, the seductress, the lavish spender, the irrational woman, the asp, the banquet, the pearl dissolved in vinegar, all anecdotes carefully curated to illustrate folly, not statecraft. Even the location of her tomb was lost to history, completing the physical erasure. She became a ghost in her own city. So, what was the outcome of this ancient propaganda machine? A resounding 2,000-year success. Shakespeare didn't write about Cleopatra, the shrewd financier. Hollywood doesn't make films about Cleopatra, the logistician. They reproduce almost exactly the caricature Octavian's poets invented. The ultimate victory, when your enemy's lie becomes the world's lasting truth. But to truly understand the depth of this erasure, we must first understand what they were trying to erase. Let's rewind. Before the Aesp, before Actium, before the Roman spin doctors, Cleopatra was, by any objective measure, one of the most competent rulers of the ancient world. She inherited a kingdom drowning in debt and riven by faction. Her own brother had her exiled. She fought her way back, literally rolling herself into Caesar's presence in a carpet, a bold gambit that wasn't seduction. It was a desperate, brilliant appeal for political recognition from the most powerful man alive. She stabilized Egypt's currency, she reformed agriculture, she opened new trade routes, she spoke Egyptian, a first for her Greek dynasty, connecting with her people as a true pharaoh. Her alliance with Antony wasn't just a love affair, it was the donations of Alexandria, a sweeping geopolitical vision to reorganize the Eastern Mediterranean with a new, hybrid Greco-Roman Egyptian power structure. This was the real threat to Octavian, not a seductress, but a visionary with the resources and intelligence to create a rival empire. He couldn't just defeat that, he had to make it incomprehensible. So, he reduced a grand political project to a soap opera. He took her intelligence and called it cunning. He took her ambition and called it greed. He took her love for her country and called it primitive fanaticism. Now let's examine the machinery of this character assassination in finer detail. Octavian didn't work alone. He had a team, a a proto-PR firm of poets, historians, and artists. One of his most potent tools was coinage. He issued a series of coins. On one side, his own profile, clean, stern, Roman. On the reverse, an Egyptian crocodile and the simple, devastating words, Egypto capta, Egypt captured. No image of Cleopatra. She is erased, replaced by a reptile. Egypt itself is feminized, animalized, and owned. The message was stamped into millions of pieces of silver circulating across the empire. Then the public spectacles. After her death, Octavian held his triple triumph in Rome. But the climax wasn't a parade of captured weapons. It was an effigy, a statue of Cleopatra with a mechanical asp clamped to its arm. The crowd didn't see a woman, they saw a puppet in a staged death. Her suffering, her final act of agency, was turned into a puppet show for the mob. The real person was gone, only the symbol remained, and he controlled its meaning. He also wrote the official Senate record, the Acta Senatus. In it, he didn't just condemn her, he had her declared an enemy of the Roman people posthumously. He was legally erasing her from the past retroactively. But perhaps the most insidious act was the cultural appropriation. Rome absorbed Egyptian gods. Isis became a Roman cult. But Cleopatra's Isis, that was purged. They took the religion and severed it from the queen who embodied it. They stole her cultural capital and left her personal reputation in ruins. It was the ultimate theft, taking the power of the symbol and discarding the human who gave it life. What about the people who knew the truth, the Alexandrian scholars, the Egyptian priests, her own staff? They were silenced through a combination of fear, patronage, and the overwhelming tidal wave of the Roman narrative. History, as they say, is written by the victors, but Octavian proved it could be manufactured by the victors with a ruthlessness and attention to detail that feels chillingly modern. Let's consider the long-term psychological impact of this erasure, not on Cleopatra, but on the world. For centuries, Cleopatra was not a name for a girl to aspire to, it was a byword for dangerous, destructive sexuality. Medieval and Renaissance writers portrayed her as the ultimate warning against female power. Dante placed her in the second circle of hell for lust. She was a moral lesson, not a historical figure. This distorted lens even affects archaeology. For years, scholars looked for evidence of the seductress. They interpreted art as erotic when it was ritualistic. They searched for beauty potions when they should have been studying tax decrees. It's only very recently, with new scholarship and a re-examination of Egyptian sources, that we've begun to scrape away the Roman paint and see the portrait underneath. And what do we find? Administrative documents in her handwriting, temple reliefs showing her as a pharaoh making offerings to the gods, not a queen lounging on a couch, the boring, vital paperwork of a working monarch. This is the final tragic irony of Octavian's campaign. In trying to erase her completely, he made her immortal. But he gave her a false immortality, a ghost trapped in a hall of mirrors he built. The real Cleopatra, the strategist, the linguist, the economist, was successfully buried. The caricature lived on, vibrant and utterly false. So, what is the lesson for us in an age of deepfakes, misinformation, and cancel culture? Octavian's playbook is still in use. The tactics are the same. Isolate the target, redefine their narrative, attack their core identity, and repeat the lie until it becomes fact. He showed that truth is not the strongest force in history. Narrative is. A narrative can be engineered, weaponized, and sold. Cleopatra's story is the ultimate case study in how power controls the past to secure the future. Octavian didn't just win a war, he won the story of the war. and in doing so, he shaped 2 millennia of perception. The next time you think of Cleopatra, I want you to try a mental exercise. Strip away the pearl, the asp, the barge of gold. Ask yourself, what did Rome not want me to see? They didn't want you to see a head of state who navigated a male-dominated world with unmatched skill. They didn't want you to see a culture that respected female sovereignty when Rome did not. They wanted you to see a villain so that Octavian could be the hero. And for the most part, they succeeded. This is the Black Code. We decipher the programs of power, and Octavian's program for Cleopatra was a masterpiece of informational and psychological warfare. He understood that to conquer a people, you must first conquer their story. To defeat a symbol, you must redefine it. He didn't just take her kingdom, he took her meaning. He proved that the most effective destruction isn't always physical, it's narrative. It's the slow, meticulous replacement of a complex human being with a simple, useful myth. Cleopatra fought for her Egypt until the end, but Octavian fought for the future's memory of her. And in that battle, with the full machinery of a rising empire, he won completely. The ultimate power isn't just to write history, it's to ensure that your version is the only one anyone ever bothers to read. If you understand how the past is weaponized to control the present, you're starting to see the code. Subscribe to the Black Code. The truth is a weapon. Let's keep it sharp.